Hello and welcome to Market Psychology 101, where we look for value in the markets when there's fear and are cautious when there's greed. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you a rundown on some of the top Bitcoin mining stocks and looking at their technical analysis and seeing how their charts are holding up with the recent events in the market. So starting off with fear and greed, because these are stocks, we are still down in extreme fear. So possibly still a good time to dollar cost average in. Going over to crypto fear and greed, because these do follow the general trend of larger altcoins and the trends that they are on. Crypto, as you can see, is still in extreme fear. Last week we were down at 10. Right now we are up at 20. So zooming out, you can see here on the yearly chart, obviously this would be there's not really much lower to go as far as forming a base. So we are seeing a base form here. How long that takes, who knows? It may spike back up or we may accumulate down here for a while. But either way, this is as bad as it gets. And we haven't seen fear get this low since the summer of 2022. And that was a leading indicator for the bottom, which came later in November. Before that, one of the notable times is that in the summer of 21, Bitcoin had a double top. Once was around here in April, and the other time was in November. So between that double top, crypto had a 50% correction, went from 65K down to 30 some K, and then up to 69K. So not since these last times where after the bull run was done and forming a bottom have we seen fear get this low. Looking at seasonality wise, you can see that February overall it isn't typically one of the strongest months, and neither is January or March. So March, it's amongst some of the lowest or weakest months. Yes, June and July are typically the absolute lowest. But you see what's coming after March, and that's April and May. In April and May, it's about as bullish as you see later in the year when you get into October, November, and December. So, with all this fear in the market, do not be surprised to see a turnaround or a good bounce around that April May time frame. Something to keep in mind. And as we are looking at getting or adding into positions, that's what I'm doing with these mining stocks. This is something to keep in mind long term, that in these cycles, once Bitcoin gets too expensive to buy, then there is this sort of final rotation from the money that's in Bitcoin, Ethereum, large caps into these large caps or even the miner stocks. The mining stocks, their charts are a lot like altcoins in the market as well. This is a chart that shows just the pullbacks that happen in the uptrends on the way to the top. So alt season and when Bitcoin topped was here in 2017. Here we had the double top in 2021. This was that other area of extreme fear I was talking about here between the double top as well as down here. But basically what you're seeing in this chart, we just had a 30% correction, is that on the way to the top, we get these corrections. And so if we are only getting half a dozen or so corrections or dips, this is no doubt one of them. And of course, it can dip lower. We might be in a scenario like here, who knows? But when we get these dips, hindsight being 2020, in my opinion, this is one of the dips that you don't want to miss. Not financial advice, but I am not missing this dip. And if it goes lower, I have a budget. I don't invest more than I can afford to lose, but with my budget, that is how I eat into these dips. And in my opinion, this is a can't miss dip. And zooming out, as far as the macro alt season indicator, still in its uptrend, still doing higher highs, higher lows. So nothing broken there. And this is the rainbow chart. I talk about this every week as well as other macro crypto data. But you can see it got down into this light green band, and the low for that light green band is at around the low 70s. So if there was another flush, that'd be an area to watch for around the 70K area, which it does line up where the top was last cycle. All right, so going into the Bitcoin miners, we'll be taking a look at Mara, Riot, Clean Spark, Iron, Cypher, and Wolf. Let's take a look at those. Those seem to be the best ones in the classics. One final thing with Bitcoin, watch on the weekly. This is the MACD indicator, and when it has turned green the last number of times, you can see we get big movements up when it turns green. So here again, add that dip, and then as it turned green, another big movement up. It goes up a fib or two. So this could last another month or so. Back here is 4+ months. So tough to say, but as you see this start curling up, that's when you want to pay attention and see what Bitcoin does at that point in time. Going over to the daily, you can see Bitcoin holding on to the 200-day moving average. So it had a bounce, got rejected off that 100-day. This is what we want to see right here, which way it goes. Is it just going to continue to weaken and drop, or are we going to punch back through? But if it does start to weaken and drop, then you will be looking for this moving average, the 50-week moving average, at around 76K. So right now, the candles are holding on to the 20, albeit it's losing a little bit of strength there. So if we did get to the 50-week moving average, me personally, I wouldn't be surprised, but just something to pay attention to should we get another deeper dip. All right, so let's get into our miners. Let's go over to the wrong one. I did not mean to click that. Jittery fingers here. All right, Marathon Digital Holdings. We have this large channel. It tagged it and it got a bounce. So zooming over on the daily, you can see there that since it tagged the bottom, higher lows here. So did have that rejection off the 20-day moving average. You can see sellers came in pretty hard there, but it's on its way. It seems like it wants to challenge that further, and then who knows what the market's going to be doing. So if Bitcoin is breaking that 200-day moving average, then I would not be surprised to see it get to the lower end of this channel. So lower end of the channel, good time to look at adding to your position. We'll add on let's add on the stochastic. Try to make this video a quicker one. You also see here on the weekly stochastic that this is flipping up. So we have this higher low, the stochastic's reflecting it. No buy signals yet. At least let's be sure of that. Sometimes the buy signals do come in on red candles. Nothing yet, but that would be something to watch for. So it's in the range of the bottom that it just got to. That was around 12 bucks. So we are $2 higher. But again, if you believe in Mara's long-term potential and you see these trend lines from the peaks going up here and you say, you know what, I think Mara can get to a price of around 170, 10x from here, you don't really care if you're getting at 12 or 14, just saying. So Mara is at the lower end of this channel, but it did just get rejected by this moving average. But overall, it's forming this wedge. So, when it rejects again, we may see it come down here, or we may see it break up and settle in at the 0.5 fib, somewhere around the $16 range. All right, let's get into Riot platforms, and Riot's also in this descending channel. And as you can see, once it broke under that 382 fib right here, and by the way, the fib that I drew from the former high to low, and when it's on former high to low, make sure everything's on log scale. I feel that helps give a better view of the macro data, especially when we're looking on the more macro time frames. But it came to support right here around, well, you can see there's a top there, but there's also this bottom. So it is possible that this could be a local bottom for Riot, and if so, you could argue inverted head and shoulders. And if this was any sort of an inverted head and shoulders, and I'll be honest with you guys, as far as those patterns, head and shoulders, all that, double tops, hindsight's always 20/20. Take it with a grain of salt. Sometimes it'll look like a pattern's forming, and then it does something else and just accumulates. So, becomes a different sort of a geometrical shape or whatever. So take it with a grain of salt. But if we do have this inverted head and shoulders, then from the neckline on down, the measured move would break out of this channel in the 0.5. That'd be very bullish. if this is indeed an inverted head and shoulders. So just something I see here, but if not, if this does break down lower, this is of course the 236 fib and the lower end of the channel here at around $7. Um, but I don't mind Riot here at all. I really don't. And as you can see, when it got down to this level, it did have a little bit of a jump, got rejected, doji, undecided, but it is trying to form a base here. So we'll see what happens. All right, let's go over to Clean Spark. And Clean Spark overall, yeah, you see you see these descending channels on all these miners. So people also call those bull flags, but here's the way I look at it. Clean Spark has not been at these prices really since January of 24, so over a year ago. We are at or within the range of a yearly low. So if you like Clean Spark, why not buy some right here? And sure, you might be waiting for the channel, and if so, you're eyeing around $6.50. You can set a buy order there, but maybe your budget is $1,000 and you love Clean Spark. I'm just hypothetically speaking right now. You can put 500 now and set 500 on a buy order, and that way, if you miss it, you still caught it here. But if you do hit it, then you do get that discount. So that's a way you can try to think about, how to not miss these dips, whether they do go lower or not. But another one, this looks very similar to Riot. Didn't quite get up to its 20 moving average, but it did get sold off at that 0.5 fib. So anyways, it's got to hold on to this price here. Otherwise, you can see where this low is at around where the channel is. So, I like Clean Spark. I might set a buy order at around 650 myself. See if it tags there anytime soon. All right, let's go into iron. But I will say, guys, just whenever we start getting greedy for further dips and people are like, oh, yeah, Bitcoin's going to 70K, and then it never happens, it really sucks to miss out on that dip that in hindsight becomes so obvious. I do think it's one of these dips, whether it goes lower or not. So iron did break down under its daily moving averages. You can see there it's at the 618 fib. And on the weekly, what do we see here? The candle wicks being bought up down here, candle body forming a base above it. So right now, iron holding on to the 618. And as far as horizontally speaking, we do have this price action back here. Do not be surprised to see iron get as low as $6 in the low $6. Did get bought up, but on the daily, what do we see here? That when it got under, it's being bought up and it's hanging out under the 618. So that's still bearish. You want to see confirmation, and if it can't take and make the 618 into support, do not be surprised to see it get down here around these areas, and at worst, maybe somewhere in the $5 range. So this will be another one where if this doesn't hold, look for 630 as support. All right, what do we got left? Let's do Cypher and Wolf. Cypher going over Wolf. I think Cypher was below Wolf last week when we talked. So we'll get into those. Cypher in this ascending channel, and it is on the lower end of that channel, hanging out at the golden pocket area, as well as you see this get tagged and bought up at the lower end of this channel. Now I need to add this golden pocket too and the rest of my fibs, but from high to low, you see this is the 618, and all you're doing is you're adding 0.65 on your macro fib. So that's the golden pocket area. That's where it's being bought up right now. And so, people talk about how the descending channels are bull flags. So can this be a bear flag just getting ready to possibly come back down somewhere around the 0.5, the 242 area? That's something to watch for. So again, I think this is good dip buying areas like a lot of these miners are. But if structure gets broken, we just take it one step at a time and we chip away at it. Remember, it's almost impossible to buy all the exact bottoms, but I don't mind getting a bucket of bottoms when it's pretty obvious. And I am fine with getting all these bottoms. Even if I bought up here, I am more than happy to buy down here. So I see a lot of people make this mistake. They buy when things are up here and then they give up and they quit paying attention when it's down here. If you liked it enough to buy up here, you should love buying it down here. And if not, then you did not do enough research to justify buying it before. So make sure you have a thorough plan and have done your research. So Cypher right now, I like its area. Yeah, it could go lower, but if you love Cypher, I love that area. Lastly, let's fill this video out with TerraWolf and see why did Cypher get above Wolf, and this is why. So this wedge, this channel, I contemplate even calling it that because it's so steep, but you see this just staircasing down, and right now that low, I mean, it's challenging these levels back here. So does look like it wants to eventually come back to the 382, and if so, I could see a base there because we have all these tops. We see the 382 has been important in the past as resistance and support. So, it's possible it's coming back down to the 382 again. And you can be patient on TerraWolf. If you love TerraWolf, this would be an area to look for. And again, if you're looking for confirmation indicators, we have our buy-sell signals, which I prefer on the weekly. The weekly, you'll get confirmation. You won't get as much of an exact bottom, but you will hedge against risk a little bit better. And we have the stochastic RSI, the MACD, all the things we talked about before. So obviously very oversold. You're looking for these to get back up in the shaded area for them to cross positively. The regular RSI, I mean, this is just, it's as weak as it's been all the way since back here. And it's getting towards those levels as far as the strength falling off. So just keep an eye on those things. And if you're worried about it going lower, it's okay to, not just spot buy in dollar cost average in, but look at some of those confirming indicators. Again, that MACD that I talked about earlier, the buy signals, such as that. So you can try to eat a profit sandwich where you don't get the very bottom, but you eat everything but the bread. You buy in over here, and you might not sell the very top, but you selling over here. That you can still get a 60 to 80% profit sandwich, and there's nothing wrong with that. Anyways, let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you looking at buying miners at these levels? Are you waiting and trying to be more patient? Do you believe more lows are coming in and Bitcoin's going to 70K and all that stuff? So interested to hear your thoughts. I'll try to do a stock market video tomorrow as well as a bonus video for some altcoins if I have the time. And of course, look at doing a live stream on Friday at around noontime. So thank you for watching. Have a wonderful Wednesday.